Hi, it's Steve Morrison here, and you're listening to Chat with Chaps, chatting Millwall, come rain or shine.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? This is the midweek live with Chat with Chaps, and today we've got a special show for you. So today, through the international break, we're going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into our season, not necessarily looking at results or anything like that, but more about the players. The good, the bad, the ugly, the players that we feel that probably performed to expectations, some gone above expectations, and maybe some that haven't quite fulfilled their potential or what we at least expected of them at the start of the season. So without further ado, tonight on Chaps with Chaps, I want to introduce two very special guests. These are new members of the Sleepless Night Clubs, and you'll find out in a second. So first of all, Jesper, how you doing, Jesper?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm very good. And thanks for having me back. It's been a while. I think it's been a couple of months since we talked. But since then, we've had a little addition to the family. So yeah, it's been very hectic, but all good. And she's doing well. So yeah, we couldn't be happier.
Excellent, Jesper. And of course, you know, as you say, it's been a tough. How many weeks is your little girl now?
Yeah, she's just 5 weeks now. So
5 weeks. Well, there you go. Amazing.
Yeah.
And it's quite nice to get back into to football and start talking about more important matters at the moment than maybe stuff. But it's good to have you with us, mate. And below you, we've got Paul, who is also have a child. Where did your child come from?
Let's just point. Sorry, can we just point out first? It's not together.
Different
times, different women.
Exactly. Yeah. Modern day men are we now, are we?
And you also said below me. And I was thinking,
You've got to really get that syllable in there. Below me, not blow me. Yeah. Below me.
I'm all good, mate.
How you doing? How old's your little one, by the way?
8 weeks now.
8 weeks old. 8 weeks old.
Me and Jesper are thinking about doing a podcast ourselves, about chaps and children or something like that. Parent and self-help.
I know. I was going to say. I mean, guys, in the chat, if you're listening to this and you haven't had children yet, and you want to know all the ins and outs about babies, make sure you don't ask these two. Ask their wives, ask their missus. So the question I want to ask you both is: have they mastered "No One Likes Us" yet?
No,
not yet. No one likes us.
No. I therefore thought so.
No.
I bet they've mastered the art of demanding feeds of attention whenever they want it. I guess that has happened, hasn't it?
Plenty.
Excellent. Well, let's see, guys, if these lads can handle the live tonight, as well as they do nappy changing and bottle feeds. So without further ado, let's go to the comments. So who we got on the live? First of all, we've got Danny Chappell. How you doing, Danny? Come on, your lines. I do like them catch-ups. In the chat, we've got Jeff. How you doing, Jeff? Evening, boys, on this chilly Tuesday evening. Looking forward to this. The international break always gives me my meal withdrawal symptoms. I couldn't agree more of you, Jeff. And it is bloody cold. I think I checked. It's about 2 degrees out there before filming this. Ridiculous. And Jeff, evening, how you doing, Jeff? I'm good as well. Chris, good to have you with us, mate. Hope you're well. Chris says, hello, lads. So, guys, those who are on the live at the moment, what we're going to do is we're going to go through each player. We're going to start from, as you call it, sort of goalkeeper through to defenders, through to midfielders, and then attackers. What I'd like you guys to do, if you want to join in with us, is when we talk about each player, try to jump the queue and just talk about the player. If you've got any comments you want to add to those players, put them in the chat, and we'll go through them one by one. Like I said to you before, you take the time to comment on here and be with us tonight. So I want to take the time to read all your comments, make sure you're heard as well. So if you've got any comments, please whack it in here. Gary, evening. How are you doing, mate? Good to see you. Roslyn, lovely Roslyn, evening. How are you doing, Roslyn? And Sticks says, evening. Hope you're well, Sticks. Good to have you with us. Right. So let's start the show. So we're going to start in sort of goalkeeper order, I guess. And the first goalkeeper that we want to discuss, of course, would be the Great Dane himself. And there's no one better than our Great Dane, Jesper. So over to you, Jesper.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. So I had a look at the games that Lucas has played so far, and I would say overall he's had a good start. I know we talked about after 5 or 6 games, like, was he going to be up for it? Was his kicking good enough, etc., etc. I think he's starting to grow into it. I think what we have to remember is this is his first full season in the Championship. He's not played at a higher level before, so it's a step up. And he was also brought in, due to the tragic circumstances in the summer, which would probably also have affected him a bit. But I think we're starting to see a really good goalkeeper, especially if you take the games like Hull and Swansea, where he was massive. But I still think maybe with some of us, and I would say that maybe it would suit him to be a little bit more commanding in the area, a bit more assertive. Still see sometimes when he comes out to get the ball that it just doesn't seem so secure, does it? But I think it's something that he's working on, but I think game by game he's getting there, and I think he's just getting better and better. And I'm glad that Harris has stuck with him, because it takes time for a keeper to gel, and that's also why you don't want to substitute your goalkeeper normally. You want someone between the sticks who plays week in, week out.
Excellent. And an honourable mention for Liam Roberts, Jesper. I know we haven't seen much of him, but you've seen, is he a decent backup in your opinion for what you've seen in the small, amount of time that he's played for us?
He probably is. I mean, he was at the books at Borough, wasn't he? Also as a sub keeper. So he's one of these. He's one of these keepers you will probably never see play much. But I guess he's also what was available at the time. So I guess he's all right. But I haven't seen enough of him to sort of justify my comments on that. His kicking looks decent, but all I've seen is bits and pieces from Portugal when he played a couple of minutes there. So I can't really judge, to be honest.
Sure, excellent. And next on the list, Paul, is Ryan Leonard. What's your thoughts on Leonard this season? Is he what you expect from him this season? Is he carried on from the good form of last season? In your opinion, what's your thoughts on him?
Yes, yeah, mate. I think he's kind of gone under the radar where he's just carried it on. Obviously we've had others in better form, so they've kind of taken the limelight, so to speak. But he just seems to be getting better. He's played, I think, he started every game. He's only been subbed off for about 20 minutes in total. But yeah, he just makes us so much stronger defensively. Obviously, he's long throw. We don't have to watch Fleming take long throws, so he's back on them. I just really like him, and I think he just calms the rest of the defence. And fingers crossed, I don't even want to say actually, but the injury worries, I don't know why I've said it out loud, but the injury worries are hopefully behind him. And Harris apparently, I think it was Angelo said that he's looking after him in training and stuff, and he doesn't have to train every day. So long may it continue. He's just Mr. Solid.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. On my go now is Tanganga. So first of all, just a very, very brief mention for Hutch and Harding, because obviously these guys haven't featured much. But what I love is when Hutch has come on, and it can only be for a few minutes sometimes at the end of the game to shore up our defence. What I've seen of him, he looks solid. He's a presence. He comes on the pitch. He does a really good job for us. I mean, God forbid we don't get the injuries this season, but if he comes in, it looks like he's kind of ready to step in when needed. But back to Tango, I think we all agree that, we're very, very fortunate to sign Tango. I personally believe he's Premiership quality. Okay, maybe not a mid-table or top-of-the-table defender, but he's still at a good age. How is he? 24, 25 years of age, I think, from memory? 25 years of age. And he just looks so impressive. I mean, sometimes when you see him defending one-on-one situations, he looks so composed. It's almost like he's got an extra gear, isn't he? Like when he's sprinting for a ball, trying to intercept or get in front of an attacker. He does it with ease. Like he can kind of read the game so well. He's
holding himself back, doesn't it? At times, I agree. You think he could go again if he needed to. You're right.
Yeah, and sometimes you see it, don't you, Paul? Like you do see that extra little bit of effort from him sometimes.
I've got to run now, and he goes and gets it.
Yeah, well, he needs to. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Exactly. So, but no, I mean, there's no surprise. We're doing so well since he's come in at the start of the season. The first 2 or 3 games were a little bit shaky at the back, didn't we? Conceding a lot of goals. But as soon as he come in, you see what it does to the rest of the defence. It lifts our defence, the whole back 4, back 5, including the goalkeeper, really play with confidence. So for me, I must say, I've been very, very impressed with him. How long we're going to keep him for, who knows? But certainly for this season, I think he's been a great signing for us. So before we go back to Jesper again, I'm going to go to the comments before they build up. So give us 2 seconds. Where are we? Craig Jones, how you doing, Craig? Says, evening chaps, fucking cold out there. He's telling me, mate. And Alex, for the 3rd week of the trot. I can't believe he's on time. Evening, fellas. Back to my normal time. Were you late tonight, were you? At least you're honest, Alex. Anyway, I'll give you that one. Danny says, wish he was better at crosses. Other than that, he's sound and can only get better with regards to Jensen, of course. Chris Brown says, global warming my arse. I know. Global warming only suits us, Chris, doesn't it, when it's nice and sunny? I'm all for it then. When it's fucking winter, Jeff Cook says, agree with Jesper. Jensen is starting to look good after a dodgy start. Gary Miles says, Lincoln fans used to say he commanded the penalty area. So that will come. Jeff says, I think once Jensen gets a bit more confidence, as Jesper says, being a bit more commanding in the box, will have a hell of a keeper for years to come. Agree.
Danny, just put in quickly, sorry, just do you know what I loved? The bit at Leeds where he was giving it to him. Because I feel like as well, that's a bit of his personality coming out, a bit of confidence. And doing stuff like that, it just takes you even more so.
I mean, Paul, would he have done that in the first few weeks? I doubt it.
Definitely not. No.
It just shows you that's a great pickup on there. I like that one. Danny Chappell says, every defender has played well so far. Personally, I prefer Danny Mack in defence. David Rose says, has to make the 6-yard box his own with crosses with regards to Jensen. And Craig says, agree with Paul and Leonard. It's now expected for him to be at least 7 out of 10. I agree. Jeff says Lenny has been quality, so impressive. Alex says if Lenny was 5 years younger, I'd be worried. Callum says evening, gents. How are you doing, Callum? Good for you to join us. Jeff says Tatanga, as you say, Joe, is the best central defender in the championship by none. Top half Premier League defender. There you go. And Connor, good for you to join us, mate. Evening. Hope you're well. Okay, so we've gone through Jensen, we've gone through Leonard, we've gone Tanga. Jesper, for you, we now got Jake Cooper. Can you give us your thoughts on Jake Cooper this season, how he's been playing for us?
Yes, sure. I think Cooper has just been Mr. Reliable again. He looks so good alongside Tango. Maybe also is the fact that maybe Tango makes Cooper look even better. But I think he's been really good. They've been solid. I'm happy for him. He's already chipped in with 2 goals this season, which I'm really pleased for, because he's struggling so much in that box. When the ball comes in, he's often marked by 2 and 3, and he's being man-wrestled to the ground. And it's almost beyond ridiculous sometimes. But I think what goes against him in those situations is also he tends to push players as well. And when he's so big and lumpy, it just looks so clumsy. And I think that the rest are just too aware of it. So it takes so much for him to get a free kick or a penalty, which I think is a shame. But I like the fact that we're using him now also as a decoy. And we're trying to mix things up, because he does attract a few players, opposition players, when we're on set pieces and free kicks. So he's very valuable also going forward. But I think he's been very impressive this season. Hasn't had any bad games or anything I can remember. So, yeah, really good. And just like you said with Tango, I just hope he stays injury-free, because if there's one position in the team where we really lack some depth, it's the central centre-back position. I'm sorry, but the cover we have in there, I'm worried. And I don't know if I read it correctly or heard it on during the Stoke game, but is Tanganga suspended for the Sunderland game? Or I just heard that
I think they're both one away. I think they're both one away. So
okay,
really. So neither can afford to pick up a yellow.
I think it's 4 games. 4 games, 5 games till the cut off. So we've just got to try and manage it. But whether we do,
right, okay. Yeah. I just thought Beatty said that he picked up his 5th. But anyway, small segue there. But yeah, I think he's had a good start. I hope it continues.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The 2 points that you mentioned there, the corners as well. I mean, what's really good for us, quite valuable, is that he does take 2 players away. It's usually 2 marking him at every corner. Yeah. I don't know if you've seen that. And that's quite good. And I think if you can move away and allow space for others to get in, like Tanganga or someone else maybe to score, then great. And going back to your point about the suspension, I mean, Jesus Christ, if we lost both of them, they both get yellow cards, Coops and Tango, this Saturday, and they're both out for, what was it, one week next week after against Portsmouth, I think it would be. Then that's going to be a bit of a problem because we have to rely on Harding and Hutch, I imagine, wouldn't we, to step in. Yeah. And to your point, we're lacking depth, aren't we, at centre back at the moment.
Yeah, but it's also the fact that we have old defenders in there. Wallace is over 30. Hutch is, 33, 34. And then you got Harding, he's 27, 28. But he's not looking towards Harding, so he's not going to play. And we don't really have anyone in the mold, a young player coming up, or I haven't seen anyone in the under-21s at least, sort of nearing the first team. So, bit concerned in that position.
Yeah. I mean, of course, we've got the likes of a Coley, haven't we? And Grant, but they're on loan at the moment, but they are maybe for next season going forward, perhaps, But I appreciate that. Good comments there, Jesper. Over to you, Paul. With regards to Joe Bryan, seems to have the left back spot, or does he, in your opinion? But how has his season gone for you? And while you're at it, can you give a little mention for Wallace at the end of it as well?
Yeah, of course. Start with Joe Bryan. I think he's had a solid start. He lacks at times defensively, but we know that. But his stats back up as well that he's actually one of our more important players with the ball. So I had a little look into it, obviously, when I know what he was doing today. And he's got the most key passes per game, which is, I didn't know what that meant, but I had a look. That's the final pass from a player before someone shoots, but they don't score. Otherwise, obviously, it'd be assist.
It'd be assist.
He's by far and away clear from left back. Yeah, so from left back, he's created more chances for someone else to shoot next.
There you go.
Than any other player in the team. And he's only four.
Is that including free kicks and corners, though? He takes quite a few
everything.
Set pieces. Yeah. Right, okay, that might be why.
Yeah, so obviously, if he cross it, he heads it. But we don't seem to. We always do like second phases, I've seen, with our free kicks and corners. Very rarely do they cross it in and someone heads it in. I know Cooper scored the other week, but mainly it's like heading it back across, isn't it? And
I know what you mean. And then
someone going in, but that wouldn't count then.
Yeah.
But I think he's done a good job. He's not as solid as Danny Mack, and I do like the fact that away from home or against the bigger teams, we've got that option. And somehow Danny Mack looks better as a left back than a right back, in my opinion. But it was weird that Joe Bryan weren't in the squad against Stoke at all. But I was discussing that beforehand. I haven't seen anything come out since. I don't know if any of the viewers know or have seen anything, whether he was injured or not.
Yeah, good point, guys. In the chat, if you know the lowdown on Joe Bryan, why he was missing, and don't say he got locked in a coffee shop or had a caffeine overdose. Only sensible answers, please. Go on, Paul.
That was pretty much it, mate. Really, he's done all right. I don't think he's not excelled at anything, but he's been solid and decent. And he's only 4 starts away from the whole amount of starts he'd done last season.
Wow,
so he's kept himself fit, That's
good.
And I don't think that's got anything to do with the fact that I think if he hits a certain amount of games, he gets a new contract for next year. So it's not a miracle.
That might have something to do with them, perhaps, And an honourable mention for Muzza, Murray Wallace, of course. I mean, for what you've seen, it's probably going to be really sort of pre-season, really. We haven't seen much of him.
I think the only time I've seen him, mate, is I think he played in the Orient game, and he looked like a blind man that had lost his guide dog.
He got destroyed, didn't he, that one?
It weren't his best game. I just think he's run his race. He was superb for us. He did a great job for a number of years, and apparently he's a really nice bloke. I think he'll be one that gets maybe paid up and moves on in January, and if he does, good luck to him.
Yeah.
No, and it's just unfortunate. Sorry, Joe. It's just unfortunate that we lose Scanlon after 3 or 4 games. He could have been a very good replacement on that left back as well. I hope we see him. In the second part of the season, I think he could do a job as well.
With the rumor,
what I would say on Paul there, talking about Joe, is I like Joe when we play at home and when we don't play maybe Burnley or Leeds, because I think he gives us more going forward. And I would love to see us, try and get maybe 2 or 3 instead of having to hold on to that 1 goal, because then he gives us so much defensively, but he doesn't give us much in the attacking sense, I would say. So, but it's brilliant to have both options. As you say, we can go a bit more rigid when we play Burnley and the likes of Leeds. But I'd like to see us play a bit more on the front foot when we don't play these sort of teams, especially at home.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Next on the list is myself with Danny Mack. So Danny McNamara, for me, last season before that, I've always said that I rate him as a defender. Defensively, I think he's pretty sound. You know, give him a 1v1, a bit like Leonard on the other side. You know, he's very, very good. He always, for me, lacks just that attacking threat going forward. You know, we talk about what Joe Bryan gives us as a attacking defender. Danny Mack doesn't give us that, sadly. However, the way we're set up, or the way we have been set up more recently, reverting back to what was so good for us last season, be a bit more defensive, hard to beat, and then counter-attack. I think Danny Mack is really suited to that system. We saw him do so well at the end of last season in those defensive areas. And I think this season, when he has been called upon, he's looked fantastic. You know, for me, he looks really good. And I think to Paul's point as well, you know, when we're going away from home sometimes, you almost kind of, especially against a good team, you always hope or expect Danny Mack to play and fill in at left back instead of Joe Bryan because of the defensive assurances he gives us, perhaps. So for me, I've been very, very impressed. He's also just very, very quick at sort of reading situations. You know, he's one of these sort of defenders where his eyes on the ball. You see when he's sort of going 1v1 with a winger, like he intercepts that cross so well. He knows where to kind of put the tackle in, and he's aggressive as well. He's quick as well. You know, over sort of 2 or 3 yards. You know, he's very, very quick, I think. So for me, this season, I've been impressed with him. I've been more impressed with him the fact that he knows he's not a first team starter. He knows with everyone fit, it'd be Leonard on the right hand side, Joe Bryan on the left. But for me, every time he's been called upon, whether it be a substitute appearance or come in to start a game, he hasn't let us down whatsoever, and I've been very, very impressed with him. So before we go to the next player, let's go back to the chat, because I know it's building up here a little bit at the moment. So where are we? So Stick says, is Tanganga 1 card away from suspension? I think from hearing what the guy said there, I think that's true, along with Jake Cooper as well, sadly. Craig Jones says, if Tanganga is suspended, if he gets booked, do we go with Hutch with Cooper in the next game, or do we push Leonard into centre and Cooper and Danny Mack and Bryan as fullbacks? Good question there, Craig. Who wants to answer that? You two.
I can. I've thought about it for a long time, putting Lenny in there. I think he can do a job. I honestly think he can, alongside Cooper. Obviously, we haven't tested him there, but I think it's a really interesting point, and I could see it work. But obviously, there's no guarantees. But I would almost say I'd rather have that, and then Danny Mack on the right, and then Joe on the left, than putting Hutch and Hardy. I know it sounds harsh, but I think it could work.
Yeah, especially, I mean, God forbid if he does get booked this Saturday, it would be the Portsmouth game we're thinking that he'll miss out on. So against Portsmouth, you could probably afford to start with Joe Bryan, thinking, well, we beat them in the cup already this season and not particularly doing too great. So we can probably go at them a little bit more, couldn't we, I suppose, you know? I'm not saying that Tanganga should get yellow cards this Saturday, but if you are going to miss a game, then I guess the Portsmouth one isn't, you know, a terrible game to lose him for, you know?
I wouldn't mind Leonard next to Cooper, I think, would be better than Leonard next to Tanganga.
You think so?
Yeah, just because you're kind of not similar, but as in bit of pace and not particularly the best in the air. Cooper's obviously the one that clears a lot of the balls and stuff. So, but yeah, it's definitely an option.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. Jeff says, why can't we use Cooper in a different way when we have a corner? Instead of him standing on the goal line, occasionally put him on the edge of the D for a run in to meet the ball. Completely agreed, Jeff. I think Angelo always says that. If you listen to previous shows, Angelo's always moaning about that. Why doesn't he run from the edge of the box and make a run in? And it's true. You know, to stop somebody like him, who's 6'10", and weighs probably about 15.5 stones, you know, it's going to be very, very hard to stop his run, you know, and rather than just sort of stand as a standing jump. So, but who knows? I'm sure they know more than we do, these coaches. Connor says, we have depth, but no quality in that depth. That's true. Really good point. Gary says, I wish Cooper would keep his hands to himself. Craig says, thinking this as Danny, Leonard and Bryan have played more minutes than Hutch. Yeah. Alex says, I play Lenny centre back and Danny Mack right back if they both got suspended, which is what you said, Paul, isn't it? I think. Is that right? Is it Paul? You said that?
Yeah, yeah.
Chris Brown says, please not Wallace and Hutch at the back.
I think that's where they played. I think they played centre half against Orient, didn't they? So
that's right, and I think they struggled, didn't they? Bless them in that. But then I guess they're both, you could argue, weren't quite match fit. They're coming back from, I think Wallace might have been injured prior to that game. Hutch was recently back after the contract situation, weren't it, as well? So maybe they weren't quite 100% on it at the time. Gary Miles mentioned concussion was mentioned. Oh, right. That could be the reason for Joe Bryan, was it? Concussion.
I know he went down the game before, but they put out a story saying it wasn't for some reason. But maybe, you might be right, mate. Maybe that's it went down as a concussion sub because Harris pointed out that it wasn't because he didn't want him missing. But that would make sense.
Good point. Craig says definitely to avoid risking any head trauma if he had suspected concussion. Yep, true. Chris said he had a panic attack because his coffee machine went bang. Alex says he was latte for training. I love that. Jeff says agree with Paul. Danny Mack is a better left back than right back. I think when he cuts in on the right foot, he looks more comfortable game by game. Like Lenny, he rarely gets beaten. It's true. Absolutely spot on, Jeff. Gary says, if Lendog is not given a new contract, Danny will step right in at right back. And Alex says, Lenny played in a free under Gary. I think Danny Mack did too. I think you're right. I think Danny Mack did play in a free, I think, for one game, I think, 1 or 2 games. But he looked comfortable. I thought he did all right in there. Right, let's get back to our list. So, Jesper, over to you.
Yeah.
And the next player we want to discuss is Romain Esse. Over to you.
Yeah, where to start? I mean, what hasn't been said about this kid this season? I mean, I think everyone's running out of superlatives. He's been coming out like a house on fire. Honestly, he's been so good, and I think we all knew that he could be a good player, and I think we saw some of it last season, bits and pieces. But this season, he's just been fantastic, and he's just grown game by game. He seems like he's grown in stature as well, like physically. He's got taller and bigger as well. And he's just great to watch, and we just have to enjoy it. I know everyone says he's going to be gone in January, etc., etc. We don't know for sure, so let's see. But he's definitely one who's going to be banging on the door for the Premiership at one point. There's no arguing about that. And he's what we need as well. We need a bit of flair in our team. He's one of them players we haven't seen very often. And I hope that when we do sign some new players, that we're going to look towards these type of players as well, because I think that's what we're missing sometimes. Also, when we're playing this sort of rigid formation, sometimes we need players who can get out of this, out of the press. Sometimes we're set too deep, and when we get on the ball, we don't have anyone to give it to other than Rom. But the opposition are going to find out eventually that he's going to be our outlet, and he's going to be marked, maybe 2 players. So, but I mean, what can I say? He's just been phenomenal, best player so far this season, if you ask me. And he just needs to keep his head down and keep doing what he's doing. Not be satisfied with what he's already done, but hopefully contribute with even more goals and assists this season.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's fantastic words there from Jesper. And I think also to your point, as much as he's grown in physique and size, I think even as a person, mentally, he just seems so much more mature. He seems like he's really taken his role on as like an integral part of this team. He knows he's not just a promising youngster who's trying to prove himself. He feels that he is a big player in his team, and we put a lot of pressure on him. But he's happy to take that pressure on. He knows he's a big player. He knows he's going to have to win us games at times. And he's got all the attributes, from what I've seen, to do that and do it well, Cheers for that, Jesper. Paul, over to you. And the next player we want to discuss is Aziz. What's your thoughts on Aziz so far? What you've seen of him?
Yeah, I mean, he started a bit slow, didn't he? He started because his favourite position's in Rom's position. And I think, if we're all honest, if you said back in July, SA is going to be your standout player and whether be going for 10 minutes, none of us would have thought that would happen from where he was last season, where he was more just being brought on at the end of games to see him out. But yeah, Azizi. So I was at the debut game, the Orient one, and it was like a bag of tricks. So he was doing, and it didn't come off once. So I think he gave the
Almost
ball away for
trying
the
too
goal.
hard, weren't he, Paul?
100%, mate. But since then, I think he's kind of gone back to basics. So if you look at him now, he's not really trying to take people on. He's just trying to get half a yard and whip it in. And he's got a cracking left foot. So yeah, Bomber's obviously worked his magic with him, taught him what he expects and what he wants to do. He works hard, he tracks back. I think there's a lot more to come. So yeah, hopefully, and he should have scored by now. And I'm sure he's round the corner. I keep saying it, but he's missed, I think, 3 or 4 big chances. But I think once he gets one, he'll get 2 or 3, and yeah, hopefully go on a roll. But I'd start him at, in the team still. I'd have him over at left mid. So yeah, he's won me over
instead of Watmore.
Yeah. I know Watmore started the season well. I don't know who's talking about Watmore, but yeah, I'll let
that come up. I think Jesper's got him later. Interesting, you mentioned about the 3 chances that he's kind of messed up at. You could just, we've all seen the chance that he's messed up with, but you just know he'll probably score goal of the season like that. He'll miss the easy ones, and he'll probably score one like a 30-yard rocket with his left foot, and it'll go top bins, you know. And to your point there, I think Harris must have played a big part in his development. You can see that Harris has almost kind of let him do his thing for the first few games, and then he sort of spoke to him on the training pitch and said, right, you need to do this. You know, calm down a little bit, less of the tricks, work hard, do the basics right, and everything else will follow. And I think, again, that's probably good man management from Harris, really, because he's probably worked with him. He mentioned it a couple of times, working with him on training and things like that. And I think you can see in his performances, can't you, recently? It's come quite well, actually. Cheers to that, Paul. And also, we've got one more to talk about, which would be Casper De Norre. So I'm going to talk about Casper before we go to the chat. So what can you say about Casper? I think everyone sort of liked him last season. They can see the quality that he possesses, how good he is on the ball. But for some reason, there's always this question mark, is he a Harris sort of player? And for large parts of last season, he wasn't really featuring a lot. I think Harris went with his tried and trusted Mitchell and Saville. However, towards the end of the season, when we kind of got that safety, he played Casper for a few games. You can see the quality that he possesses as soon as he started on playing for us. I think over the summer, Casper has learned for him to be a big part and be a first team pick in this midfield, he needs to work a lot on his off the ball stuff. And I might mention this, guys, in the chat in previous shows as well, that he's really worked on this. He's worked hard on his physique. He's done lots of what they call balance training pre-season, which means, you know, you work with the coaches, and a lot of it's kind of physical, so you don't get pushed off the ball too easy. So he's building strength in his legs as well. And I think you can see that in his performances, because yes, he's still great on the ball. He very rarely gives the ball away. His passing is great. It's always forward passing rather than sideways or backwards. He picks up lovely areas of space, but more importantly, he intercepts passes so well. The tackles he puts in now is something we didn't see from Casper last season. And we've seen that quite often. I've got a stat here for you guys. I'm going to read this out to you very, very quickly. So Millwall's Casper De Norre is the only championship player this season to make both 30 plus tackles, it's actually 31, and 30 plus interceptions in the whole of the championship. So he leads the way in both tackles, interception. Now, some players have got 30 plus interceptions, but fewer tackles, and vice versa. But he is so important, not just intercepting balls, but also tackling. It just shows you how hard he's worked on his game to be as effective off the ball as he is on the ball. And for me, I think along with Roman Esse, he is somebody who I think is a first team player, along with Tango and Cooper, of course, but he's definitely in there for me as a first team pick on a team sheet. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but interested to get your thoughts on that as well.
I think there's more to come. Same with Aziz. I think he's got another level to go as well. So yeah, a couple of times this season. I know Swansea, I don't think he'd make a. I think he's found a better position. I think he's better there than as a cam. But when he does run forward, I like it. He makes good runs off the ball, and I'll rate him highly, mate.
Excellent. Cheers.
He is very good, isn't he? But also, just a small side note is also that we bought Fleming in and De Norre for 2 million or less. It just shows you the quality that we might be able to get if we just look a bit overseas sometimes, and we're buying a player from League Two for 700,000, and compare anything, but it just shows you that there are bargains to be found, and I think he's been excellent, Casper, so far. Honestly, really
absolutely. And if there are any bargains in Denmark, Jesper, make sure
I haven't been out scouting lately, so I'll let you know.
You're too busy changing nappies and doing late night feeds, isn't you?
But having said that, if you do look at the Championship, you see Preston. I think they actually have 3 on the books now that they picked up in the best Danish league, and I believe that Middlesbrough also bought a left back, and they have been around a couple of mil as well, decent players. There was something should be found for sure.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. Right, let's go to the chat, guys. So Callum says, think we've got SA at the right time, been crying out for a winger who can be direct with a bit of flair. I think he means there. He does mean flair. Alex S says, Aziz has got better each game, but he needs to take one of his chances. Completely agree. Jeff says, we'll be devastated when we lose SA, but I keep saying the kid deserves his chance. He's well-rounded and does his parents credit. I'll just enjoy him while I still can. Completely agree, Jeff. And I think we all agree with that one, and we guys. Stick says, get SA on free kicks. Can't be any worse. Again, completely agree. I've been asking this for a long, long time. I mean, we tried Saville and Honeyman, God knows how many times. Even Joe Bryan. Give SA a go. I'm sure he'll do well. Jeff says Sticks is right. Get SA on the free kicks. There you go. Gary says I've already said SA ain't going anywhere in January. Besides, hope not, because Joe said he would buy me a pint if I'm right. Yes, that's right. Actually, you reminded me of that, Gary. So thanks for reminding me again there. So I'll go ahead of that, and I'll promise you a beer if he's here coming into the season. Look, Steve Morton's joined us. How you doing, Disco Steve? Says, Ethan Gent, sounds like a good show. Who would be your starting 11 on Saturday? Good question, Steve. We are going to discuss that at the end of the show when we discuss the Sunderland game. Tony Tourette said, De Norre is absolute class at this level. I completely agree, Tony, mate. Chris says, De Norre would make a better 10 than Honeyman. I think so, Chris. I think De Norre's one of those sort of players where I think he could play anywhere, couldn't he? I think he used to be a right back when he was younger, and can play in a box-to-box midfield, in a DM role, in a cam. I think he can do it all, really. I think he's that good and that talented. Tony says, Watmore is bang average. Flattered by his goal start, but let's be honest, you could count his good games on one hand. I think, Tony's got a good point there, lads. I don't know whether you agree with that or not. I mean, we will discuss Watmore in a second, of course, but I think the goals flattered him a little bit, going to Tony's point as well. Wouldn't you agree on that, Jesper?
I think I'm actually discussing Watmore here later. I would say yes and no, but I'll give my comments here a bit later.
Yeah. Excellent. Alex says Watmore is good at getting us up on the pitch quickly and relieving pressure when we're under the cosh. Yeah, that's true. He's a good ball carrier. I'll give him that, and he has got an eye for goal, isn't he, Alex? He knows where the back of the net is most of the time, anyway. So we've covered Aziz, we've covered SA, and of course we've covered Casper. Jesper, starting with you again, and now we're talking about George Saville. So interested to get your thoughts on George Saville this season. What's your thoughts on him?
I think generally, I think most of the players who've played so far have been fairly decent, and some of them really good. Saville is no different. I think he's been really good. I think he just fits the way that Neil wants to play. He's a Neil type of player, and I can see why. He's a really strong organizer, and we can also see it when he's not playing, that we miss him. I'm surprised that he's had such a strong start, and I think some said that maybe his legs were gone towards the end of last season, etc. But he looks so good in there with Casper, and really organizes the team very well. I do think that he needs to be rested from time to time, so I'm really happy that Billy hopefully is back to give some cover and some depth in that midfield, because I think we have a really strong sort of trio in there when we have Mitchell, De Norre, and Saville all available, and we can sort of rotate in there. I think he's had a good start. he's sort of our captain without being the captain, I would say.
Oh. Can't hear you, Joe.
I'm on mute, that's why.
Hey.
Cheers for that, Casper. I know, exactly. Sorry, cheers for that. You didn't hear me, Jasper. So I'll say thanks a lot for that feedback. I think I've always said as well, Saville is our captain without being the captain. He doesn't like wearing the armbands. I think a lot of the time people question why he doesn't want to be a captain. I think the honest answer is he doesn't want to be captain, because being captain doesn't just mean you're a captain on the pitch. You're a captain in the dressing room. There's lots of jobs you've got to do. You've got to work out fines of players and sort out nights out and all that stuff, where Jake Cooper seems to enjoy all that stuff. So they let him crack on with it from the sounds of it. Paul, we want to discuss Ryan Wintle now, and it'd be interested to get your thoughts on him. And also at the end of it, I want you to answer this question. Is he the player now that you thought he was at the start when you first saw him as well? So it'd be interested to get your thoughts on him, and obviously your opinion.
To start with, mate, when we signed him, I thought, he's here as backup, which is he started, but he made a few brief sub appearances and he come on instead of Honeyman, and I was just thinking that I can't even understand how he's a professional footballer. He lots of effort, but just running around, not really getting anywhere. But that being said, I think again, Harris, give him credit. He's obviously got him to understand what he wants from him, and when he's played in his proper position, he's been class. He's not, again, I don't think he's any better than what we've got. I don't think he's better than Casper, not in a derogatory way either, just I don't. I really like Billy Mitchell and Sav's always been brilliant for us. So I feel like he's brilliant for the time being, and it gives Billy time to get back, get fit. And it wouldn't surprise me if he actually got called back in January, because the Cardiff manager that he fell out with's gone. Yeah. And the actual reason he come to us was because they had a falling out, because I looked early, so he started 27 games out of 46 and come on, I think, 15 times. So if he was unhappy with that, as much as he's doing his best at the minute, and Cardiff are third bottom, I can see a world where he ends up going back. But even if he does, I think he's been a good signing, and he's got us through this period without Billy.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more there, Paul. I think to your point, he's come in, he's done a job for us, isn't he? You call it a squad player, what you want to call it, but losing Billy and having him as a replacement in this period has helped us out massively. Perfect. And we're hoping that this time when Billy comes back, it sounds like they've done a good job on him, the medical team. They're not rushing him back too soon, because that's where it went wrong last time. So hopefully he'll be all right for the second part of the season. And maybe, to your point, there's option for him to go back.
I'll be happy if he stays.
I agree. Yeah,
but I can just say he's got some energy, though, hasn't he? As well.
Oh yes, yeah.
He don't stop.
Yeah, he's good off the ball. I don't particularly rate him on the ball. I don't really see the quality, but certainly off the ball, he does work his arse off. And for a lone player,
is that the wife?
For a lone player,
I told you that this might happen.
I think he's been really helpful for us. Sorry, can you hear me? I'm joking, Jeff.
Yeah, all good.
Right.
No, but can I also say on the Wintle thing, I think it's a really good loan signing in terms that we have Massey and Kelly sort of coming through now. That we had Wintle for a season where we can sort of gel the younger players in, and then when Wintle leaves, that might give space for Massey and Kelly next season. Whereas, and I've said this many times in the group before, the Coburn deal really annoys me, because it can only go, sorry to say, belly up for us, because either he's going to perform, admirably, and then he's going to go back and he's going to be worth too much for us, and he gets injured and he's not going to contribute with anything. And that's a conversation for another day. But I think a very good loan signing in Wintle, and I think he can do a job for us, just like Paul said.
Yeah, excellent. Cheers for that. So who's next on the list? Okay, so next on the list is George Honeyman. That's one for me to discuss. But before I talk about George Honeyman, I just want to give an honourable mention to Kelly. To Ryan Kelly. So we haven't really seen much of Kelly at the moment. He's a youngster. He's a left-footed midfielder. We've seen that much of him at the moment. What I do like about him, what I have seen in short glimpses, is that he's a committed player. He seems to work hard. He doesn't shirk away from a tackle. He's got lots of energy. He likes getting about the pitch a little bit. But unfortunately, we haven't seen enough of him, or certainly not enough in him in the short period that he's played for us to see whether he possesses enough quality on the ball. That being said, he gets picked for the under-21s quite often for Scotland. I know given the number 10 shirt quite often. So normally that's given to a player who's got some stature, has got something a bit about them as well on the ball. And I think he's one for the future. He seems like a good kid. He seems like he's got an old head on young shoulders, very, very mature. Players speak quite nicely about him in the changing room. So again, he's one for the future, isn't he? Will he play much this season? Will he go out on loan in January? Who knows? But I think Kelly, I can see the logic of signing a player to bring our age down a little bit, bring some more youth players in, which I think is a good thing. But back to George Honeyman. Again, this guy, we know what George is about. We've seen it over last season, and he's full of energy. He's got great stamina. He works very, very hard for the team. My only criticism earlier this season was he doesn't score enough goals for us or create enough goals for us. Now, that being said, he has scored. I think he has made an assist, maybe or two. So he is doing something up there. But what a lot of people talk about Honeyman is what he does for the rest of the team. So his hard work allows the rest of the team to play. So when he's pressing in the number 10 role, it allows the wide players, the likes of Watmore and SA and now Aziz, to kind of contribute and get in forward areas to be more effective. So I guess you could argue that he's doing something good for the team. But for me, and I still stand by this, for me, a number 10, in behind the striker, you need to be offering a lot more in creativity, in scoring goals, taking chances, a bit like Fleming did in the last couple of seasons, picking up goals, scoring. Now, Fleming doesn't work as hard as George Honeyman does, but again, I think if you're going to pick between a player that works hard and a player that's going to score you loads of goals and get you assists, I would go for the latter. That's just my opinion. But George Honeyman is a great person, great player. The players love him. The fans love him as well. And he works hard for the team. He really does put a shift in. And maybe he's suited to the way that Harris wants to play. That's why Harris likes him and wants to start him all the time. But for me, my criticism is that I want to score more goals or at least create more goals. If we can do that, I think, he'd be a great player for us this season.
Do you know what, though? See, I think with him as well, I think he'd be held in even higher esteem and technically he's only trying to do his best, but if he didn't take the free kicks and for some reason he's been put on the front post at corners. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And it was Stoke, and there was another one we conceded at home earlier in the season as well. Fleming was brilliant at that, and I know he's got his position, but it makes no sense to have him at the front post defending a corner because he's not tall enough, he's not strong in the air. So it's not his fault. It's like putting me. I'm like about 5'7" if I'm on my tiptoes. So it's pointless.
Where disco these platforms, maybe. Yeah. No, I agree. But who makes that call though? Surely it's either got to be Harris or Adam Barrett to say I want you on the front post, I want you to defend those balls in. But in previous times, to your point, we've had Fleming do that job really well. Morrison before that. Even I can even go back further. Even players before that, but you always get a big lump normally on that front post that will head those balls clear. So I don't know whose job it was to put Honeyman there. Like you said, I don't think it's a player. I think it's instructions given to him. That's a real bad.
Yeah. And he'll do his best, as you can see.
Of course he will. But what's interesting, it's a Stoke game. When he makes that error, they had about 2 or 3 more corners after that, and then Josh Coburn is on the front post. And he heads them out. Yeah, and they head it out every time, don't they? So. Anyway,
I think also, Joe, that one of the reasons he's on the front post is I think our team has gotten a bit smaller. Times we've had De Norre, SA, Langstaff, and Honeyman on the pitch. Who are you going to put on the front post? Because you need the other ones to go with the man. So I think it's good point. Someone has to do the job, and he was just there at the wrong time, couldn't clear it. So but a good point.
Excellent. Cheers for that, guys. So let's go back to the chat. So Hughesy, how you doing, Hughesy? Savills 5th highest rated championship midfielder according to stats shown by Second Tier Podcasts. Okay, it's interesting. What's the highest rated as in what as in performances? I guess is what they're saying. That'd be interesting. I don't know whether you guys agree with that. Do you?
I think it will be. It depends how they rate it. It depends what you're looking for, doesn't it? As like a defensive midfielder, And we will miss him when he stops playing. Just even his ability to win free kicks for us when we're under a bit of pressure. You can't teach that. Harris did it. Sav does it.
Yeah.
He's just
it's an art, isn't it? Almost in itself.
Yeah. I don't even know how he gets away with it sometimes, but it's superb.
I like this comment here from Chris Brown. Savile needs to keep his shorts alone. I said it before. He does this thing, then where he kind of rips his shorts up, and he always turns into like a nappy almost, doesn't he? Like he's really sort of psyched up. It's like, come on, like And I do get concerned when his shorts are sort of slipping down to normal height, length, whatever. He's not on it, is he? Like he's got to have his shorts right yanked up there, don't he, to get into the game. Disco Steve says George Savile #nappy shorts. There you go. Craig says Winslow has been solid. To Paul's point, a good addition for rotating the squad and the work he puts in the running. When Honeyman came off in the 10 role against Leeds, he kept the pressure on. Yeah, it's true. And he really does bust the gut. And I keep saying this, it's pretty unheard of from a lone player to give that kind of commitment. So fair play to him, Callum Jackson says, what does everyone think about the lie of Ivanovic betting scandal that was published by sports outlet called Sports Buzz? I don't know who to take that one on, but I saw that on social media recently. I think his uncle's come out, isn't he, on socials, on X, and said it's a load of bull crap, basically. It's all lies, and I don't know who this journalist is. I think he tried to contact himself directly, but he's not responding to him. I think the journalist is called like Peter Trust or something, isn't he? So ironically, something like that. But people mentioned the same journalist has made up stories in the past and got them completely wrong. So unless you two, either two want to comment.
I'm pretty sure he's done it before. I think I don't know if it's the same website. I'm sure it is that did it with Fleming.
It is.
I'm sure it was Fleming, and I just so straight away I see it. And then you do have people obviously just taking it as gospel. So I'm glad he's come out and
I mean, it's bad they can do that because he's clearly doing it for clickbait, isn't he? Really, yeah. But how they can do that and get away with it, I think it's terrible, really. Alex says, I don't see why we paid money for Kelly to come early and then he's hardly figured. Yeah, it's true. But again, I think he's one for the future, isn't he, Alex? Maybe, who knows? Craig says Honeyman equals running man, covers so much ground. Jeff says Honeyman has an amazing engine. His runs on and off the ball and his work rate are second to none. But, and there's always a but, his final product or finish drives me to distraction. It's true. I mean, again, I think if he could add that to his game, I mean, Jesus, what a player we would have in our hands.
Well,
this is it. I know. And you know what? I've always said this. And I always remember my first memory of watching Honeyman properly was when he played for Hull against Millwall at the Den. And in that game, he played, I think, on the right wing, but in a sort of right wing stroke number 10 sort of role. I'll tell you what, he ran us ragged that game. I think Murray Wallace was trying to mark him from memory. And he was quality. He was dribbling, good feet in, left foot, right foot, going in and out of players. He was a real creative spark. I think he even scored in that game. I thought, so what a player. And I haven't seen that player since. Like, although we have him now, we own him. And I sort of said to him, joking about in the end of the season awards last season about that game, and he remembered the game really well. And his response to it was that it's a different team, different setup. He was allowed to be creative and not having to sort of track back and blah blah blah. And maybe that was different, whereas at Millwall he's asked to do a job and he's got to be a bit more cautious. He can't really be too what's the word for it? Too kind of expansive in his play and too creative. He's got to be a bit disciplined. So
look, he had a weldie and got a 3-year deal out of it. He ain't done that bad.
No, exactly. Chris says Sports Buzz are total wankers. Completely agree, Chris, mate. Completely agree. So let's get back to the list because we're getting closer to the hour mark. Jesper, next player on the list, we did touch on it earlier, but we want you to elaborate, is on Duncan Watmore. What's your thoughts of him this season? And is he the player that you thought he would be at the start?
No, but in a positive way. I didn't really rate him before the start of the season. I could see before the start of the season what he could do and what he brings to the team, but he started really well, didn't he? Like SA had a really good season. He started really, really well and contributed with a lot of goals. But I also think that he has a certain championship level, and when he comes up against better players and better teams, like we've seen against the Burnleys and the Leeds and whatever, he has his limits, and he still runs into trouble sometimes, like a headless. But you can't argue the numbers this season: 15 games, 6 goals, 1 assist. As a left winger, those are decent stats, and therefore I would say he's had a good start. What can we say about him? I thought in the beginning also his fitness levels had gone up. He played quite a few games, full 90 minutes, whereas recently, maybe that's down to the congested fixtures that we've had, that he's looked a bit more tired, but so have some of the other players.
Like you and Paul, hasn't he got little legs running around at the moment as well?
Yes, yeah.
Could that be playing, lack of sleep, tiredness, and all that? Who knows? I'm just saying, just putting it out there. I mean, you guys are better judges than I am. My baby's a lot older now. I've forgotten those days.
Yeah, I forgot about that. He just had a little kid, didn't he? It's not that long ago.
It's interesting.
It's not real people, are they?
His form's dipped since he had a child, hasn't he? Really, we think about it.
True. Yeah. Now that you mention it.
So if he leaves his wife and child, then we should get the player back, you're saying?
Yes, that's a great shout. Can we try and sort of create some kind of like, I don't know, like liar? He's having an affair with someone, maybe. Maybe we can sort of I don't know, put something online. Yeah, interesting. Just a quick question for you. Should he start over Aziz?
At the minute, no, because I think whereas Aziz has got a sort of upward trajectory, or what do you say? I think Watmore's is maybe slightly downwards, and it's not to say that he's playing bad, but I just think Aziz is playing well at the moment, and I think he deserves his chance, and I think the goals will come soon. And what I like is also that he's bringing us something different, Aziz, that he also has a decent shot from distance, and that's something that we don't have much of in the team, that we haven't had for a while, actually. So, no, I think I would put Aziz over Watmore for now.
Excellent. While you're on Aziz there, Ollie, who's watching on X, formerly Twitter, says Aziz has impressed me at first. I wasn't so sure, but he's been quality. Just need to find a target now. I think that was to who was discussing Aziz. I think it's Paul, wasn't it? He was, yeah. Paul's point there. Cool, excellent. Okay. So next on the list, over to you, Paul. We're going to discuss, is he the forgotten man? I mean, if I mentioned to you Idemo Amarco, do you remember who he is?
Buckle up.
In the chat. Buckle up. Okay, here we go, guys. Sit back.
So I've got a mini rant coming.
Here we go.
So I'll start off by saying the first couple of games have come on and he did quite well. And then he was out the squad coming on, not really doing anything when he come on. And then since he's been sent off, he's obviously been dropped. He's not. I know he's been on the bench, but he's not seen a minute since. He's put a couple of messages out. And when I've seen him a couple of times play for the under-21s, he hasn't looked particularly impressive. Right. So that's all kind of he needs to do more.
What messages are? Because I've heard a couple.
It's just a couple, just saying. You've put me on a spot now. I can't think of exactly but it was basically about the fact that his chance should be given a chance, or it's his time, but not with Millwall, but just in general, like on an Instagram post.
Okay.
I can't think of the. I'm kind of half making it up, if I'm being completely honest with you, because I can't remember the exact, and I don't want to just pretend.
Maybe in the chat, guys,
it was little digs, but I can't think of what it was.
Mention it.
However, I feel really sorry for him because he's just turned 21, and I think he's been mismanaged, not by Neil Harris necessarily, but by Millwall Football Club since he's been here 3 years. And he's played 890 minutes of football, so less than 10 games of football in total in 3 years. I know he's had injuries at random times, but he's been kept around because we've never had a squad enough to let him go out on loan, and we're like, well, we might keep him here just in case we need him. So we've kind of held him back. And he's just desperate to play, so I'm not surprised. I'd probably be the same, getting pissed off if I'm not playing it. I don't think he should play because I think the others have been better this season, but I completely understand it. He had a loan lined up to Wickham at the end of August, but that fell through because our deal fell through to sign someone.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know if there's anyone else. Even if we'd gone and signed like an Adam Reach or someone, I think he's still on a free. But anyone to just cover that spot for 6 months, a year
to allow him to get first team football. Yeah.
Could you Wickham are top of League One? Could you imagine if the difference between this bloke and his confidence and his career trajectory, if he's gone to Wickham and he's flying, or he's been kind of banished and he's playing under 21 football, and even then he's not standing out.
To your point, Paul, we did something very similar with Tyler Bury. I mean, we all know what happened to Tyler Bury at the end, but if you remember, he went to Hartlepool, didn't he? He done fantastically well for them, become a real big star for them, come back and look a different player. He was full of confidence. You know, he looked really good for us, didn't he? And I think, again, to your point, I think if the market can get that run of games in League One, I think it's going to do wonders for his improvement, for his development. Yeah, and I think so. I agree. And again, it'd be interesting. So go on.
No, go on, mate. I don't think he's a Tyler Bury either. I don't, as in the personality-wise, he comes across like a lovely, down-to-earth bloke. Yes, he's frustrated. His agent's a little bit busy with the old PSV and Atletico Madrid links every transfer window. You think, all right, go on, mate. But he just seems like a really nice bloke, and I just can't wait for him to go out on loan and hopefully, and then come back to us a better player and get in our team.
Yeah, again, I met him in the season of Wolves, had a good chat with him, and although people around me were saying that he was bored of me, it's not true. And he wasn't falling asleep. I think he was just a bit tired. But I had a good chat with him. And for the record, he is a lovely, lovely, lovely lad. You know, very, very open, very honest. The way he's talking, I could not believe he was 21 years of age. Very, very mature. You know, good head on his shoulders again. And like yourself, I just wish he gets some first team football, preferably with us, but not with us. Then on loan, maybe.
On loan first. Well, if I say to Adam Mayer, right?
Yeah.
You think this young footballer who is going to take time, he needs time. So he's 18 months younger. So I said Adamo's played 890 minutes of career football. Adam Mayer's played 3,600. So he's played 4 times the amount of games as Adamo.
18 months younger.
And I see him as a baby that's going to kind of be brought on. So I think it just shows he needs game time, and hopefully come January we're in a position where we can.
Paul, you mentioned you don't blame Harris and his man management, and who are we to say Harris is not managing him properly? But surely, as a manager, you decide who plays, who doesn't play. Is he not getting an opportunity? Do you not think in recent games he could have put him on for 10, 15 minutes rather than pick out or play other players instead? I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I just feel that maybe there are times when I've seen us in games where we're defending a 1-0 lead and we're desperate for that outlet, like you mentioned about Esse in the past. So are we not managing him in that sense? Can we not utilise or at least play him in these games? Or does Harris not trust him?
I don't think he does fully yet. I mean, I was going back, so we knew what we was doing beforehand. So I had a little look back on his sub appearances, and there's a couple of games he come on and we actually conceded a goal. So the Bristol City one, when we conceded, it was 3-3, and he come on and we lost 4-3. Preston money come on, trying to see it out, he got sent off. So
that's a really good point.
I don't doubt Harris is. It annoys me when people say Harris don't rate him. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's that Harris thinks, do you know what, he's crap. I just think he thinks that he's a kid and he's not ready to win me games. And the run we're on, you can't really knock Harris either, saying that he's got it wrong or made a mistake. I do feel sorry for him, because it must be horrible. It's even worse in a way being on the bench. He's travelling up and down the country and he's just not even seeing a minute. But I believe that Harris will, if he doesn't think he's ready, the same with Kelly, he won't plan for the sake of it, which might upset other people in the club, but he's trying to win us games. So there's a fine balance, isn't there, mate? Yeah.
No, I good and very good, thoughts from you there in regards to Marco. Let's hope, either he gets a loan move, Paul, or he gets some minutes over the next sort of few weeks. Because I think we'll definitely enjoy watching him. I think he's an exciting player. I think he's a talented player. So it gives us that kind of directness we talk about, going past players, making things happen. Yeah. So let's hope that comes through.
And can I also say, Joe, in that respect, that is something we're missing when we're playing these type of games, against Leeds, Burnley, and when we need an outlet, we need some pace where we can really hurt the other teams the other way. We don't have that, and too often we just being pegged backwards, all the time. But if we could give them something to think about the other way, we could also create a different game sometimes, and maybe not make it as tough as we sometimes do.
I've always felt, because we know that Amaku and Essa get on really well. They're like really close mates, aren't they, off the pitch as well? And there's games when I would love to see, Essa on one side and Amaku on the other, because what they give us, their attacking threat and their directness, I don't recall many games the two have played together. I think whenever Essa has played or started and then Marco comes on, you'll come on for Essa as a bit of a straight swap. But we haven't really gone at it, especially at home, where you feel, let's keep them both out there on either flank and let them hurt the team on the counter attack, maybe.
The thing I find strange as well, actually, just thinking of it off the top of my head, Emaku's best time with us was under Joe Edwards when Essa weren't getting a minute.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's gone full. So he's obviously watched his best mate at the club. Yeah, he was on top, and now suddenly. He's a million and one. He's like literally like another stratosphere away. Yeah, so
that's
it's all part of it. That's
all part of football, isn't it? Let's hope that something can be resolved. I hate to see him be sold off in Marco. I think it's definitely one for the future. He's an exciting sort of player. Let's hope he doesn't try and push for that. I think worst case scenario is, I say worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, he doesn't play at all. But if he goes out on loan, then at least that's something for him. But more importantly, I would like to see him play more often anyway. It's just my personal opinion. Next on the list, before we go to the chat, is Josh Coburn, which I'm going to be covering. So Coburn, it's a difficult one, because we haven't seen a lot of him. He hasn't started many games because, of course, we had him for the first game, then he gets injured, and then he comes back in again, and he's done quite well for us. I mean, one thing I would say about Josh Coburn is he is unlike any other player we've got in our team at the moment. I think, aesthetically, whatever you call it.
Aesthetically.
That's it. He's, Ivanovic has got the stature, he's got the presence, he's got the height and everything else, but he doesn't really use that height to his advantage. You see when Josh Coburn came in the other week against, I think it might have been Leeds, not sure it was now. I think it was Leeds. Or was it? It was Leeds, yeah. You can see straight the balls are played up to him and he's winning headers. He's giving defenders a hard time, and what it does is, especially when you play one up front, these defenders end up doubling up on him because he's a handful for one. So therefore, two pressing, you usually get one in front of him, one behind him all the time because of his aerial presence. But not only is he good in the air and strong, what about Josh Coburn is he's good on with the ball on the feet as well. He's quick. He can run with the ball. He can drive the ball up the field for us as well. His touch is great. His hold up play is great. He can play players in and link up play with the wingers. He offers us so much more, and more importantly, he can score goals. He scored 2 goals for us in two free starts he's had now for us, which sort of shows you what sort of player he is. He is, for me, the player that allows Millwall to play and play to our strengths. When he's not in the team, we could try and bring Langstaff in, we try and bring Ivanovic in, Bradshaw, but no one gives us what he gives us in that lone striker role. And for me, it's important that we keep him fit, keep him playing, but more importantly, we keep him in January because, everyone's fearing at the moment he might go back to Borough because, I think they've got a clause in his contract where he could go back in January. We want to hope and pray that Borough keep winning their games. And their star striker, I can't remember what his name is now, but keeps is it Latte or Latte? Latte. Yeah, I hope he just keeps on scoring because quite clearly, Carrick doesn't see Josh Coburn being his sort of player. He wants to play passing football, possession football, quick, pacey sort of players. And maybe Josh Coburn doesn't quite fulfill that position that Carrick wants, which is great. It's great for us. What we want to do is hopefully try and sign him if we can, whether it be in January or whatever. But one thing I would say is if he carries on playing the way he is for us, doing really, really well and scores more goals, what's that going to do to his price tag? Because come the end of the season, Jesper, he's going to get to a point where he's going to be so valuable to us. Borough are going to know this, and suddenly his price is going to go up and skyrocket. And does that mean that we're going to get priced out of signing him? And then we then lose him to another championship team, who then get to see how good he is when you play him. I'd be interested in your thoughts on that, Jesper. I know obviously it's my player, but I want to get your thoughts on everything as well on that one.
that was the whole point that I mentioned before about a good loan move, and maybe not such a good loan move because, as you say, are we going to get priced out? But I think we should push the boat out in January and see, and maybe try and test Borrow again and see if we can do a deal for him, because he's in our team now. He plays for us, and he will play. Harris likes him, he rates him, and he is a good striker. So do we have the money maybe to spend on him? And the fact that he's only 21 could also be a decent investment for us, even if he
still so young, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And even if he has to cost, let's say, £3 million, and maybe they can use that to reinvest in someone else that they have on their shortlist, maybe who would they want to bring in January. So I would try and test the waters again in January and see where Borrow stands if we do have the funds for it.
Excellent, great point. Paul, anything you want to add to that before we go to the chat?
Just, I agree. We try and get a kind of deal done. I think sometimes players come in and you realise that they're too good, or they're going to be too good. And I think he's going to be one of them players eventually. I think we had it with Chris Wood. I remember that season, and I just thought we've got to sign this kid, or we're just going to regret it.
I remember it well. Yeah.
I think Morrison, obviously, he was our player, but in that period where he was unbelievable, he was running past it. And I think the same with Coburn. I think there's a massive potential there to go for 15, 20 million at some point. If you look at Chris Wood's career, and different type of striker, but I'd say Coburn's got more about him at the age we had him. Yeah. And he's a lot more athletic. He does. You're right. With the athletic. I can't. Now you've messed me up. But he doesn't look like a footballer, does he?
Yeah.
You're right. But yeah, he's class. The one downside is when we signed him, they said at a few Middlesbrough fans said he's quite prone to injury, and obviously he has had an injury already. So I suppose you have got that side you've got to worry about a little bit. But when he's on the pitch, he's class, and you can tell why Harris is number one.
Well, let's hope there's a bit of business to be made there in January. Like to Jasper's point, let's hope we can try and sign him and nick him early before his price does go up, and then we end up, as to your point, Paul, being outpriced like we did with Chris Woods back in those days. Let's go back to the chat, guys. Again, we've gone over an hour. I'll tell you what. One day we will try to keep it under an hour, but as long as you guys in the chat are happy to listen to us, we'll crack on and carry on with what we're doing. Go back to chat. So Chris says Aziz is a better player, but Watmore is useful to come on the last 20 minutes, change it up. Yeah, I'll say so. And Chris, to my point earlier, I think Watmore's always got a goal in him, nothing else as well. And he can drag the ball up the field for us, which is quite handy. Craig Jones says, not only is Watmore newborn is a sleep thief, they're a goal thief too. It's true. When's the last time you two scored? Next comment. Ollie says, biggest disappointment with me is Brian. I don't see what he brings. That's a good chat. I mean, I don't know whether you caught Paul, Ollie, on that one, but I mean, Paul, just want to sort of remind Ollie of that one. I think he might have joined us a bit late on that one, but your point to him was that you just felt that he's done all right. He's done all right. Yeah. He's not, unfortunately, he's not the Joe Bryan I thought we signed when we signed him. But I don't think he's a decent championship player. He's got quality on the ball, and despite the fact he can't tackle, he does like to kick people now and then. So he's added that to his game, isn't he, a little bit? Yeah. I agree. Okay, so next comment is from Tony Tourette. Says, if I'm not mistaken, I think his posts were in relation to God, which could be taken as a reference to Footy 2. Could be wrong. I like him. I think he's going to be a great player. That's the point you mentioned, didn't you? I can't remember what it was. Instagram. I just remember thinking at the time a couple of times, oh, he's not happy. But yeah, could well be, mate. Yeah. Jeff Cooks says, sorry, I think we missed one there. So Chris Brown says, if I was Marco or Harding, I would be onto my agent saying, get me the fuck out of here. Yeah, you can half understand it. And it's interesting, those two you picked out there, Chris, as well. They're both really likable guys, especially Harding. I mean, I've met him and chatted to him before, and everyone says, all the players say it. I mean, he's a bit of a God sort of person, isn't he, as well? But he is one lovely guy. I can see why they want him as part of the squad. But to your point, Chris, if they're not playing, then why should I be here any longer? So I'm sure that their agents are having these conversations at the moment with the club, with Neil Harris. But I can see him Harding leaving on a perm. I would not want to see a Marco leave on a perm. Jeff says Marco is going to end up as a waste of talent. Harris clearly doesn't rate him, but I'm convinced he's going to be a great player. Unfortunately, it probably won't be for us, which is really annoying. Yeah, and that's a sad part, Jeff, isn't it, about it, really? Let's hope we're all wrong thinking this, but you can see it happening, can't you, sadly? Chris says, I bet Harris was going to play Bradders as a lone striker, but shove Coburn next to him to lessen the backlash. And that's true. And there was also, Chris, to that point, when Coburn did play with him, Coburn, if you notice, had to fill in that kind of number 10 a little bit. So it wasn't really a 4-4-2. It was, and it wasn't, if it makes any sense, because when we're defending, if you notice, Coburn did fill into the number 10 role, which is interesting. If anything, you'll put Bradders in there and let Coburn be the target man, leave him up front to hold the ball up. So I don't know. Maybe Harris sees something in Bradshaw that we don't see clearly. Jeff says we could spend the 7 million we get from Burnley to buy Coburn. Would you spend 7 million, guys, in the chat? Be interested to get your thoughts, Jesper and Paul.
Millwall wouldn't. 1 million years.
No. Is he worse than the million? If you could pick, guys,
not yet.
Guys, in the chat, guys, and I want to get your answers as well. If you can pick between Coburn and Fleming, who would you pick out of those two right now? I'm interested to get your thoughts as well, guys.
That's a difficult one. I don't know what to answer. I'm not saying I'd like Coburn, but I like the 7 million. I don't feel like I feel like between 3-4 million would be more than enough.
So who would you have? Who would you rather have, Coburn or Fleming? Paul, who would you rather have, Fleming or Coburn right now? You could pick one. Forget the money. Who would you rather have?
Coburn.
I think
he's got a higher upside.
How about you, Jesper?
I'd also say Coburn, because we have Harris back now, and I can see us go 4-4-2 at one point as well, and he will suit that more than Fleming will probably.
Okay, so it's interesting you both say that, because I agree with both of you as well on that. Now, how old is Fleming? 27? I think we're thinking 27.
Yeah, 26, isn't it?
Yeah,
27. So he went for how much? We're led to believe. How much did it? 10 went for? Did
7.
it 10? 7? But 10 to go up.
I don't know how much more. Apparently not that much more.
Okay, so
like a
again,
million more, I think.
Again, is it worth pushing the boat out and breaking our transfer record once again to side Coburn? 21 years of age as well. Like you say, he's a youngster, isn't he? Interesting. We'll go to the chat soon and see what they say as well.
I think we'll sign more because we've got this January / next summer. In my opinion, you're going to see the biggest change of Millwall players numbers wise than you've seen in a long time. I think there's going to be 10, 12 leaving and coming in. So I can't see us going to spend a whole massive chunk on one player. I think we'll try and do like the 1 and 2 millions on 3 or 4. Yeah. Note to make them a £4 or £5 million player.
Yeah. I remember talking to Rowett once about that. And when we mentioned about Fleming doing really, really well, and his point was we spent 1.7 million on him. He said, that's what he said to me. How good would it be to sell him and with the money buy 4 players at that level?
Exactly.
As to spend a similar amount, not spending loads, but spending a little amount overseas.
For years.
But that needs to be the model as well.
Yeah.
But I think also we used a little bit of the money. I mean, there's a lot of conspiracies about transfer deadline day, but it was just a bit coincidental that when Fleming signed, Ivanovic signed. I got the feeling that we had to wait for that money to go in before we signed Ivanovic. And I don't know if that's the case. But I think we spent some of that Fleming money on Ivanovic. But again, if we spend 2-3 on him and we could spend maybe another 3 on Coburn, you get Coburn and Ivanovic for 1 Fleming. That's two for 1, the 2-for-1 model. And that's what Brentford, for instance, did when they came through. They also found these gems in France and somewhere in Scandinavia, and they sold them on for millions of pounds. They bought in new players for that money.
Yeah, that's what you need to do. And a good age. Young players have got resale value as well. Yeah. Completely agree. Let's go to the chat. So Alex says we could offer Bradders in Part X for Coburn. Oh my god. I don't think they'll buy that one, Alex. Tony Turret says that, by the way, as well as he's done for us, need to start phasing out Bradshaw. Langstaff is well above what he offers now. Completely agree, Tony. And I've always said this. I feel that there's a lot of similarity between Bradshaw and Langstaff in how they play. Yeah, they both like to work hard. They're both kind of fox in the box, don't they? They like sort of scoring, sort of goals inside the area. However, for me, I just feel that Langstaff is quicker. I think he's got a little bit more to his game as well. And it's no point dropping Langstaff for Bradshaw and now Bradshaw's fit because, yeah, we want to see what Langstaff can do over a period of games. We know what Bradshaw's about. I don't think Bradshaw's going to get any better, sadly. I think he's a little bit on the decline because of the age side of it. So, yeah, to your point, I completely agree with you there. Chris says, Alex, that would knock £5 off the price if we were to get Bradshaw over to Borough. Love it. Yeah, Alex agrees with you. Craig Jones says, Harding and Murray Wallace not leaving until they have completed their referee course. Is that true? Are you making that up? Going back to the Coburn versus Fleming, a few of the guys in the chat here have mentioned Chris Brown says Coburn all day long. Craig Jones says Coburn over Fleming as he offers us more, younger and more to prove. Sticks is going for Coburn all day long. Alex said if Ivanovic is 3 million, Coburn has got to be 5 or 6 million. That's a good point, That's a very good point because age-wise, what's Ivanovic? 19, isn't he? 2 years younger. I mean, I guess it's too early.
But can I just say, Joe, that what has he played now? I think he's played maybe 40 games for Borough in total. That does not automatically justify a price tag of £5 to £6 million. I mean, that needs to be earned. He's not worth that, if you ask me. 3, I can maybe agree with. He's not 5 or 6, and we shouldn't sign him if they want that.
Yeah. Also, I think, we mentioned about his injury concerns. Even Borough fans talk about that as well, don't they? About him being prone to injury. He's been injured with us as well. So it's a risky one, isn't it? But I think let's see if he can get a good length of games under his belt. And then I'd be very surprised if we do any business in January because that's going to give us, another 5 or 6 games? I think Millwall want to see him play the whole season, see what he can offer us. But maybe there could be a deal to be made that if he plays a certain amount of games, maybe we'll offer this much. If not, this much. Who knows? Craig says Fleming is 26. Cheers, Craig. Coburn, Fleming doesn't suit the way we play. If we're not playing well, it feels like we're carrying Fleming. It's true. True. Tom, how you doing, mate? Tom says definitely wouldn't spend £7 million on Coburn. It wouldn't improve our squad from this season. We need to spend that money more wisely on 2 or 3 players, which is what you guys just saying there as well. Roslyn is picked Coburn. Oh, you still with us, Roslyn? I thought you might have got bored and switched off watching bloody I'm a Celebrity or something. Yeah, exactly. Good to know you're still in the chat, Roslyn. Jeff says, Joe, would you be prepared to do part exchange for Coburn? Have they seen your goal at the
Den? For fuck's sake.
It's funny you mentioned that, Jeff.
I mention it.
For those that don't know, I have scored at the Den. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, it was at the weigh-in, not the home there. It's the only thing that took the shine off it. But apart from that, I can die happy. I've got to get it on here. I've got to get the video on here and show it one week. I will do it. If I can remember.
It comes off your shin, doesn't it? Is it a shin? Comes off your shin and goes in.
It come off my standing foot. Come off my left foot. Honestly, it's a poacher's goal, that one. Craig Jones says, important question, is the correct pronunciation Langstaff or Langstaff? So I guess what he's doing is he pronouncing the R or not the R? Okay, because interesting, right? Chaps, when he does his reviews after the game, he says Langstaff. I always find it a little bit annoying because Chaps ain't a northerner, is he? He's from South. So why are you doing it in a northern sort of way?
Yeah, I think
for me, there's an invisible R in there, isn't there? And you pronounce it Langstaff. You don't do this Langstaff. We're not living in the Yorkshire Dells at the moment, chaps. So if you hear this, from now on, it's got to be Langstaff, not Langstaff. Forget that. Jeff Cook says, can I just clarify? I meant 7 million plus Disco Steve's white Travolta suit. Okay, now you're talking. Now we're bargaining, aren't we? We're doing some good bargaining tools. Steve Moore says, let me just clarify for record, my white suit and Cuban Hills are not for sale. Excellent. Right, guys, we nearly reached it. Yeah, we've got 2 more players to discuss. Jesper, While we're
Yes.
talking about Langstaff, not Langstaff, could you give us your thoughts on him, please, and what you've seen of him this season?
I think he had a tough start. Need to be bedded in as well. Also, very new to this level. Played League Two, obviously, the last season. So this is 2 levels above. But I think he's had an okay start. I feel he's sort of learning the way that Neil wants to play. I'm really excited now that we're getting Coburn back and Ivanovic is getting more fit and Bradders is back. Not that I think he's going to play much, but I'd really like to see him in a 4-4-2 formation, maybe with Coburn, because I think he can do really, really well with a partner up front. I think we've seen the games where he's played as a lone striker up against really good centre backs. He struggled a little bit with his hold-up play. Lost the balls a few times. He's not that strong, but he does look threatening in the box when he does get the chances. So I think there's more to come, and I'll definitely give him the chance a bit more. And as I said, I think he could be dangerous in a 4-4-2. And I also think, going back to what you said when we played Stoke away, that we did line up in a 4-4-2, but I think we defended in a 4-4-1-1. And I think we could do that also with Coburn and Langstaff. One could drop in or they could switch during the game as well. So yeah, I think there's more to come. I think he's had a decent start considering this is 2 levels above what he's played before.
Would you say, Jesper, you mentioned that he jumped up 2 levels. Is this a level too high for him, in your opinion? Or do you feel that he can come good and start scoring more frequently for us?
I think we have a few players in our side who are decent championship players, but they will not feature in teams who are in the top of the league, like your Burnley, your Leeds, your Sunderland, these sort of teams. They have limitations, but I think against the rest of the, let's say 16, 18 teams, they can do a job and they will score goals as well. So I don't think he looks out of depth.
But what's important, I think, I'm sure you agree, as a championship player, the most important thing is consistency. And I think what we don't quite see in Langstaff is consistency. I remember going to QPR away watching him, and he done this great bit of skill, didn't he? He sort of done a little bit of a drag and a turn and cut this ball back to Watmore, didn't he, when Watmore scored that goal? Yeah. And he does these things so well. But then there were other times when he's through 1v1, he kind of messes up, doesn't he? I think he had a bit of a mare against, was it Leeds? I think it was when the ball was played from Leonard up the right wing at the den. This was when he runs towards goal, and people say, okay, he made a good save, stuck his foot out, but really, as a striker, in those areas you should be putting those ones away. I think there's another one again. I think it was I'm pretty sure it was away to someone.
I think it was Derby, wasn't it? Where he actually, he gets the ball out of his feet very well and gets away from the defender and misses the chance as he cuts in.
And I'm sure there's another opportunity. I can't remember who it was against that, where he literally goes round the keeper somehow, doesn't he? But kind of misses it or hits the side netting on the left of the post. I can't remember who it was against that. But the point I'm making is, as a championship player, as a championship striker, you have to be putting these chances away. And what was concerning for me is that Notts County fans also said that he needs quite a few chances in the game to put 1 or 2 away. So if he gets 5 chances, he'll probably score 1 or 2 of those. The trouble is at Millwall, he won't get 5 chances in the game, will he? But luckily, he gets 5 chances in a month, let alone in 1 game. So that's always going to be a bit of a question mark for me personally. But I like what you said there, Jesper. I mean, that's very good feedback.
He makes intelligent runs, doesn't he, as well? I like the fact he makes intelligent runs. I feel like, and the other thing I think we forget as fans is not everyone can start. So, for instance, if we do sign a Coburn and we've got Ivanovic, and he's obviously, who I'll be talking about in a minute, but you need people to come off the bench and to score a goal if you're behind and stuff. And I feel like he's been signed more for that, because there's not loads of strikers around. But if you're losing a game and you bring him on with another striker, it's perfect. I don't think he'll be a star.
That's exactly the point. With another striker, for me, I don't see Langstaff as a sole striker or play that lone striker role. For me, you've got to play with a big guy, whether it be Coburn or Ivanovic. I can't see the purpose of playing him as a lone striker. You know, it just doesn't. suit him.
Same with what he did with Bradshaw, though. I feel it's like it's Bradshaw 2.0. You've signed a striker that plays completely different, and then we're turning him into something that he's not. But
exactly.
At times, he's allowed to obviously make these runs that he was making before.
Yeah, and throughout his career,
it's a tough one.
He's always played apparently in a two up front. He's never played as a low striker. Never has done until now. So it just seems a bit strange to me why we're expecting him to sort of do that role. But look, I guess he's doing a job for us, and there's a reason why we're set up the way we're set up, I guess, You mentioned Ivanovic there, Paul.
Yes,
we're going to end off and want to mention Ivanovic. Before we talk about Ivanovic, could you just share some words on Bradders for us, please? Be interested to get your thoughts on Bradders, and then go more in depth with Ivanovic, if that's all right.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the Stoke, I was shocked he was starting. We was all kind of giggling because we was half expecting it, but no one actually expected it to happen. But it kind of paid off. He got 45 minutes out of him. I've liked Bradshaw for a long time. He's been a brilliant servant. It's like when you asked me to speak about Murray Wallace. You don't want to just come on and cane him because he's done a brilliant job for us over many years.
It's true.
Players either leave you before you want them to, and then normally you don't like them. I think FSA will be different, but you don't like them because they left us and fuck you, Fleming, and all that stuff. Or they kind of outstay their welcome at some point. And we've got a lot of players at the minute that have outstayed their welcome by a year or so. Yeah. But saying that, I think Bradshaw still does a job. And I think that going on to my next point with Ivanovic, I feel like at the minute he come in a whirlwind with this injury, broken foot, hamstring injury, called up to Serbia, all of that craziness. We didn't have another striker, so we've had to put him on the bench. So then we've kind of forcefully he's had to use him. And I think now, because he's not come on the last few weeks, I feel like Neil's now, right, we've got a few players back. You're now going to come in with me. We're going to show you the video footage, show you what we expect from Millwall striker. We want you to do this. We want you to do that. And I feel like Bradshaw will come in ahead of him now until Christmas time, give him time to build up what he wants. And then you might see Bradshaw move on. Yeah, January. And I hope he does for him.
Do you think Bradshaw is going to act like a mentor, Paul, for Langstaff as Coburn will be for Ivanovic? Because they're both similar sort of pairing players, aren't they? You're expecting one player to be the fox in the box, the other one to kind of hold the ball up. And I think, if you're looking at them at the moment, I guess Coburn and Bradshaw are the most experienced players of the four of them and understand their roles. And maybe Langstaff and Ivanovic is the future, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's a good point, mate. I hadn't thought of it like that. But yeah, I can see, although footballers are Bradshaw will still think he's the best and he'll want to play. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that's what I mean. He's going to want to play. He's going to want to score goals. And if he's picked in the team, it's not, I think Coburn's going to obviously start now. It wouldn't surprise me if Bradshaw started the odd game in the Honeyman position. Like you say, he kind of was in there, then he was up front and dropping back. It wouldn't surprise me if he starts a few games before Christmas, but I just feel like his time's coming to an end. He's going to want a good move somewhere. And the last thing a footballer wants is to get to the end of their contract. If they can move on before, they're more likely to get a better deal. So if he can go to, I know he was linked with Wrexham, if they do come back in for him, I think that's a kind of perfect move for him. And then, yeah, in that time, you've built up Ivanovic hopefully to get ready for what Neil Harris wants him to do. But the other thing is, I'm interested in your two guys' opinion. Do you see a world where Ivanovic and Coburn could play together? Because Ivanovic is very mobile, a decent left foot, right foot. So I feel like it could happen, but also they're both very tall. So unless you're going direct, I'm not sure how that would work.
And they're both physical. I mean, I was probably doing a little bit of disjustice for Ivanovic, saying that he needs to be more physical, win more balls in the air. But from what I've seen him, I think he can be physical. I've seen him giving it to defenders.
He bodied someone. I can't think of it was against. He absolutely bodied them.
And he picks up a little yellow here and there sometimes for the way he plays, because he can be quite aggressive and he can be quite tenacious and pressing players. For me, I think they're a defender's nightmare. The players that are going to be, physical and try and give them a bit of a battering. I think if you're playing 4-4-2, those two up front and going direct, I think it can work. Personally, yeah. And
sorry, one other thing, just to say as well, massive first cap for him yesterday. Come on for Serbia last night.
Yes, well done.
That's some achievement. So he was up front with Mitrovic and Vlahovic, who plays for Juventus. So
yeah, and
they're unbelievable players. And he had to play right wing. He was trying to beat some dodgy Denmark team, but they couldn't score.
Yeah.
No comment from Jesper. Look.
I was watching it.
Is that your baby calling you, Jesper?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
sorry, I was busy watching that while you were watching the Nations League B England beating Ireland 5-0. There you go.
Right, everyone's come off. Why is everyone unfollowed?
I know. Yeah. No, excellent, good points. Well, look, guys, appreciate you going through all those players with myself. Really enjoyed it. Guys, we're going to just end off very, very quickly. We've gone to 1 hour and 35 minutes now, which is like ridiculous. So much for us to keep to an hour again. But if you're still with us, I'm surprised you are, but if you still are with us, we're just going to end off very, very, very quickly with the Sunderland game coming on Saturday. But before we do that, I'm going to go to the chat very, very quickly. So, Stephen, how you doing, Stephen? Remember, Ivanovic is an international and a great grounding at Sampdoria, far superior to Koba. It's very true. Good point. People forget about that, don't they? Craig Jones goes for Langstaff, not Langstaff. Is a Neil Harris player, great attitude, wants to learn and has zero ego. I am certain he would like to score more goals, but they'll come with the amount of effort he puts in. Completely agree with you there, Craig, mate. Jeff says Langstaff is pure quality. He'll come good eventually. Alex says that Notts County used to get about 30 crosses in each match. So he's having to adapt his style of play. Exactly. That's the point I was making there. So he's not going to get the chances here, sadly. At home to Luton, keep safe 1-on-1. That was one. I think that's one I mentioned there, the Luton game. That's it. Craig says, I feel like these are most forward options we have had at Millwall for decades. Every forward offers us something different, which adds to the team's unpredictability, which we have been in past years. True. Every forward, you're right there, offers something different. And Jeff also, where are we? I think I skipped a few there. Sorry about that. Let me go back again. See what happened. Okay, right. Sorry. Dave Martin, how are you, Dave, mate? Late to the party, but good for you to join us. Jeff Chandler says, Ivanovic will be for next season. Then you'll see a player he's not already. Unless we get injuries, God forbid, I can't see Harris playing him much apart from off the bench for the last 10. Yeah, I tend to agree with that on that one, Jeff. Great show, boys. Really cheer me up from watching pass it backwards, sideways, international football. I know it's a different flavour, isn't it, watching international football? Don't get it wrong. I mean, technically, they're gifted. It's great to watch, but you can't beat watching Millwall, can you? Sadly. Chris says, I'm smoking that Moroccan shit so I can go all night. Give us some of that Moroccan shit with you, Chris, please, mate. Jeff says, great show, lads. Let's get a 3-point Saturday. Come on, you Lions. Lovely. Right. So, very quickly, before you guys talk about the Sunderland game, I have got some, whether you call it interesting or worthless stats here for you. So, Millwall have lost just one of their last 7 league games against Sunderland. So we won 2, drawn 4, despite both scoring and conceding 8 goals during that run, which is interesting. Another useless stat here for you is that Sunderland have won just one of their last 12 away league games against Millwall. So their record at the Den, the last 12 games, is I think they won 1, they've drawn 5, lost 6, which is interesting. So we're not exactly a happy stomping ground for them, which is good. Each of the last 3 such matches between the pair at the Den have ended 1-1. So if you're a betting man, stick a 1-1 bet on for Saturday. And Ivanovic to score. There you go.
I'm going to have a bet.
Yeah. No, sorry, now I get you mean now. Yeah, sorry. Another stat here for you is Millwall have won their last 3 home league games, winning all 3 1-0, as we know. They last won 4 in a row at the Den can you guys remember when it was, roughly? Last one won 4 at home.
Was it their 17 match unbeaten run? Was it that sort of time?
when would we say that was roughly?
17, 18.
Around,
I
don't even know.
February 18.
October 2022. It's the last we won four games at the Den in a row. While they last did so with sort of a clean sheet as well. The last time was back in March 2010 when we were in League One. We won 4 games. There you go. Yeah. And then lastly, last bit of useless stat here for you, if you're still with us, not falling asleep, is Sunderland have picked up 31 points in 15 championship games this season. They've won 9, they've drawn 4, lost 2. Their best start to a season at this level since 1998-1999 season. Also at the time they had 31 points. And guess what? They eventually won the league that season. So could we be playing the team that goes on to win the league this season? Who knows? It'll be an important game. But over to you guys. Start with you first, Jesper. What's your thoughts on the game on Saturday and how you think it's going to pan out?
Well, I think we're in a good reign of form. I think the international break came at a good time for us in terms of getting injured players back, getting a bit of rest as well. You could see we were a bit on the ropes against Stoke. So even though we were on a good run result-wise, I think it was good for the team to get a rest. And I'm confident going into Saturday. I can just see that Husey in the comments posted what I was going to say, that there's a few players missing. I've noticed Patrick Roberts being out. He's one that always causes us troubles, and I don't know, I always rated him as a really, really good player. And there was another decent that Joby Bellingham will not be playing. It's a suspension.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
He's a threat as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's good. And I even read that there's Mundell, who's also been quite good on the left wing, is doubtful for the game. So
right.
I think there's plenty of positives to take. I would go for a 2-1 win if we're doing match predictions now. I think Neil's just going to have the team fired up as he always has against the big teams. And we shouldn't forget that even though Sunderland has had a really good start, they've drawn the last 3, so they haven't won in 3 either. So I'm positive. I really am.
Excellent. Appreciate it, Jesper. Paul, what's your thoughts on Saturday? Do you agree or disagree with Jesper?
Yeah, firstly, I don't know if it's just me, but when you're saying the stats and stuff, and you start with, you made it sound like we was going to win, and I was thinking they've won 1 in 12 games. I mean, firstly, it worries me. We're the one saying that anyway, and then you end it with, by the way, they've got 30 points from 15 games. I was like, oh. But I do feel like we're going to win. I don't know why. I just do. I think we're going to win. I think you'll see Honeyman and Watmore start because it's against their former clubs. And I think one of them will score and we'll win 1-0.
Okay, I'll go for that. Are we going for goal scorers? You going for Ivanovic? Are you saying, Paul?
No, not Ivanovic. I reckon it'll be Watmore or Honeyman against their former club. I reckon them two will start.
I love that.
So yeah, Harris is all about getting like the extra, whatever, 1%, 2%, 5% out of players. So I think he'll start on both against their former team. And as Jesper said, they've got a few. I think they've got Trey Hume as well. He's a good player. He's out suspended. The only one I'm worried about is that Chris Rigg.
Who's the defender who's quite versatile? He sort of plays right back, right centre back. I can't remember what his name is now. He's a really good young player.
Oh, no, not young.
So, say again, sorry? Have you said the first time?
No, Luke O'Nine's not young. He's not young, though, but he's solid. He used to be a midfielder. He's filth as well. He'd been a good Millwall player.
He's quality. Every time I watched him play, he just looks like, I don't know, the sort of player you would love to have in your team, but you hate to play against, wouldn't you, if you're a professional footballer? So
Dan Ballard's back apparently as well.
Oh, is he?
Dan Ballard's back, yeah. So he'll be back against us. But
so we'll see a battle between Ballard and Coburn. Hopefully, a bit of luck. It'd be interesting. Yeah. Guys, in the chat, very very quickly, put your score predictions before we end the live show. And guys, just you two, just want to say on behalf of the listeners, thank you so much for your input this evening. I think listeners would agree with me. You've both been excellent with your words of knowledge and everything you kind of shared with us tonight. So thank you very, very, very much. Anything you want to end off before we wrap up, Jesper? And then we'll go to Paul at the end.
Not much. I think we covered most. I can just say on a personal note that I've already booked my flight and my hotel. So I'm coming over 1st of February to watch them against QPR. Yes.
There you go.
So really excited. Yeah,
But
really
guys,
excited.
if you want to meet Jesper and buy him a beer, no doubt he'll be by the blue bus for the QPR game. So make sure you come over and say hello to us.
Indeed. Yeah.
Good stuff, Jesper. Roston's gone for a 1-0 Wall win. What else would it be, Roston? 4 wins on a row, 1-0. Cheers for that, Jesper. And how about yourself, Paul? What's your last leaving thoughts of us?
Yeah, I don't have much, mate. Just it's been good to be back. Good to chat about Millwall and have a laugh and get away from that normal life. So can't wait for the football to be back Saturday. And just thanks for having us. Obviously, Steve and Angelo normally do a quality job with you, so it was nice to have me mate Jesper back and do it.
Yeah, now again, you two guys have done brilliantly. And guys, just so you know, the listeners, Angelo and Disco Steve will probably be doing it more often. Disco's out this evening. Angelo's still really bad with this man flu at the moment. He just can't shake it off. And guys, you know what I'm talking about, the men in this chat. But we are going to rotate it a little bit. So you are going to see more of Paul and Jesper and the other guys on the Chat with Chaps podcast coming in on the Tuesday live. So we'll try and freshen it and kind of rotate it. And eventually they'll get me off it as well, hopefully, and get someone else doing my job as well. So just want to say thanks again, guys, for being with us. Sorry it's taken so long. I mean, Jesus Christ, we're hitting an hour and 45 minutes. That's a 90-minute game you've been with us today. Let's hope that Saturday's game will be less boring. Appreciate the chats, guys. Appreciate you being with us. Thanks again. We will be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy Saturday's game, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.